All right, everyone. For the last 12 days, the world has basically been holding its breath, just watching this conflict unfold between the US, Israel, and Iran. But something big happened overnight. And today might just be the morning that changes everything.
And it really all boils down to this one huge question. Are we finally witnessing the beginning of the end of this war? Let's dive into all the evidence together and see if we can figure that out.
Today just feels different. The whole vibe has completely shifted, and it's not just a feeling. There are four major signals that all popped up in the last 24 hours, and they're all pointing in the same direction. So let's break them down.
Okay, so what are we looking at? We've got oil prices absolutely cratering. We have the Strait of Hormuz, a critical shipping lane, physically reopening. We have President Trump himself saying the war will be over very soon. And get this, for the very first time, Iran is actually talking about ceasefire conditions. I mean, look, any one of these things would be huge news, but all four together, that's not a coincidence. That's a story.
All right, let's kick things off with the signal you just can't ignore. The one that screams the loudest, because you can measure it in dollars and cents. I'm talking about the absolute nosedive in the price of oil.
Yeah, 12%. Let me just repeat that, minus 12%. In the world of global oil markets, a drop that big, that fast, is like an earthquake. We haven't seen anything like this since the absolute craziest days of the 2020 crash. So this isn't just some random market fluctuation. This is the financial world shouting that the risk of a bigger war is just vanishing.
And here you can see exactly what that looks like for the two big oil benchmarks, Brent and WTI. I mean, seriously, just yesterday people were talking about oil maybe hitting $150 a barrel. Today, we're already back under $90. That massive difference, that's what traders call the war premium. It's the extra cost baked in just because of fear, and poof, overnight, it's gone. So what kicked this all off? Well, it actually started with a few words. President Trump did an interview with CBS and was super direct. He said the war would be over very soon, and even called out oil prices, saying he expected them to come down a lot. Of course, the second he said that, the markets went wild.
But look, as important as a president's words are, they alone don't usually cause a 12% price collapse. No way. For the markets to really believe it, they needed to see something more tangible. And for that, we have to look away from the TV cameras and out to the Persian Gulf, because what happened there spoke way louder than any interview.
And here it is. The U.S. Navy actually escorted an oil tanker right through the Strait of Hormuz. This is a huge deal. This is the very first ship to get through since Iran tried to shut the whole thing down. Words can be twisted, but a giant supertanker loaded with oil moving safely through one of the most contested waterways on the planet, that is a physical, undeniable sign that the game has changed. Okay, so we've got a clear signal from the U.S. and a clear action on the water. Now let's get into the trickiest part of this whole thing, the very confusing mixed messages we're getting straight out of Tehran. So on one hand, the public message sounds pretty tough, right? You've got Iran's parliament speaker, and this guy is a big deal, a former top commander in the IRGC, saying, certainly we are not seeking a ceasefire. At face value, that sounds like, nope, not interested, game on. But, and this is the critical part, while he's saying that publicly, probably for the folks back home, Iran's deputy foreign minister is saying something totally different through secret back channels. He laid out Iran's first conditions for a ceasefire. See the difference? That's not a no, that's an opening offer. That right there is how real negotiations get started.
And guess who's in the middle of these back-channel talks? You've got China, Russia, and France all involved. Now, getting those three powers to the table at the same time tells you one thing. These aren't just some casual, exploratory chats. This suggests these negotiations are dead serious, they're structured, and they're probably a lot further along than anyone is letting on publicly.
Okay, so with what looks like a real diplomatic off-ramp starting to take shape, how did the rest of the world's markets react? Well, as you can imagine, the ripple effect was huge, and it was fast.
Stock markets are just loving this news. I mean, think about it. A 12% drop in oil is basically like getting a massive surprise stimulus package for the entire global economy. It cuts costs for almost every company out there and leaves more cash in people's pockets. So yeah, the S&P 500 is looking at a really big jump right at the opening bell. And at the same exact time, all the things that do well when people are scared, they're pulling back. Take gold, for example. It's the ultimate safe haven asset.
It's already dipped back below that key $5,000 level after hitting all-time highs. It's a classic signal, right? Investors are starting to feel like they don't need to hide out from a geopolitical storm anymore.
And on the flip side of that, you have what traders call the risk-on assets waking up. These are the things that are a bit more speculative. A perfect example is Bitcoin, which has jumped back over that really important $70,000 psychological barrier. It just goes to show you that capital is flowing out of safety and back into things that have a bit more risk, but also more potential for growth.
So everything is moving super fast. What should you be looking for over the next day or two to see if this de-escalation is actually the real deal?
Okay, here's your dashboard. 3 key things to keep an eye on. Number 1, Hormuz traffic. If a huge shipper like Maersk comes out and says we're resuming normal operations, then from a business perspective, this thing is basically over. Number 2, China's diplomacy. If Beijing makes a public announcement that they are formally mediating, that is a massive step. It provides a very clear public exit ramp for everyone involved. And number 3, follow the money. NVIDIA's big GTC conference is just around the corner. If we see big money rotating out of defense and energy stocks and back into growth stuff like tech and AI, that'll tell you everything you need to know about where the market thinks this is heading.
So, there you have it. After 12 really tense days, we finally have some clear signals, some real signs of an off-ramp. And you know, while all the diplomatic maneuvering and market chaos is complicated, maybe it really does boil down to something incredibly simple. The most powerful, most important signal right now isn't a politician's speech. It's a ship, a single ship, loaded with oil, proving it can get to open water safely.